This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome to Killer Innovations. We are here in the mobile studio in lovely Las Vegas, and yes, it is still sunny. We had the rain downpour a couple of days ago. I thought we were going to all float away. As you've been following the show, you know we have the mobile studio. It's still getting its kinks worked out. We'll actually be posting some pictures from inside the studio just to give you a context of how it's working out. And we're on the road. And if you've got a local story around innovation that you think would make a great show for us here at Killer Innovations, just drop me a note over at phil@killerinnovations.com. Love to hear about it. You can go back. We've posted the show about Paducah, Kentucky, so you can check that out and hear great things about innovation happening in Kentucky that is transforming the local economy and transforming jobs. So in this case today, we have a special guest in our show in the studio, Rishi Ranjan. Thank you very much for joining us today. You were part of the Monday event that we had down at the Four Seasons. So
yes, sir.
Yeah. So in this case, that particular show, a particular event, was really about, again, finding interesting companies and putting them in front of real decision makers, people who could, understand and appreciate those innovations. A little bit easier to get in front of those decision makers than trying to snag them while they're walking the show floor here at CES, where you're hanging out with the 180,000 of your nearest and dearest friends here. So give me a little bit of background. So, introduce yourself to the audience. Who are you and where'd you come from? And
first, thanks for giving the opportunity on Monday. It was very good. The Cable Labs gave us a good opportunity, and I'm getting us in front of all the decision maker. So just on myself, I am the CEO, and I founded my company called GridRaster. And my background has been that from the last 20 years, I have been very passionate about network-based product. Last 20 years, that is what I have been doing. And I'm originally from India, and I graduated. I did my bachelor's from a very premium institute called IIT in India.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows it.
Everybody knows it.
And from there, I went to Georgia Tech for my master's, still working on the network-based product. At that time, we were working a lot how do you bring in the Wi-Fi and cellular networks together.
Mm-hmm.
From there on, I moved on to Qualcomm. Still kept on working on designing the systems that how the 3G and then the 4G will work. Came to Bay Area. Coming to Bay Area was more of I was really very happy with Qualcomm, but then only place two people, if you're not in tech, who get a job is Bay Area. So my girlfriend from Georgia Tech, she moved to New York and she was in finance and I was in tech. We really struggled, commuted all the time, New York, Bay Area, kept on New York, San Diego. Then we tried making it through LA. I was commuting 6 hours daily, wake up early morning, go to San Diego, come back. Another after 1.5 years, we are okay, let's let's just find a place where someone can find a job. So I joined a company called WiMAX. So many people, they were doing the first 4G wireless chipset. And still there, I was more on system design side, designing that what the next generation application, how they will map to the WiMAX system. And then WiMAX got acquired by Broadcom, and that is how I joined Broadcom. Again, we were working on 4G. Now, but I was always looking that what happened that 4 years down the lane, VR and AR was picking up. We were very strong believer that this is the next media which is going to replace the phones one day. And it has happened before. We moved from PC to the phone, and then phone to this wearables. We strongly believe AR and VR is going to do that. Now with that strong our conviction and our expertise in mobile based product, right, so network based product, we knew that this new medium will need a completely new infrastructure. And that is what we started building, that what will the new network look like to support this medium, AR and VR as a new medium. many people just think that it is just going to be it will be more like you just throw in a server on the other and that will start working. But AR VR is, I mean, we have to realize that it's a new platform. We have to start thinking that it is not just a video that you're trying to consume on the mobile phone, and that is what we started building. That the new infrastructure will need this compute to move closer to us, but at the same time, it's not just going to be the plain simple compute that has to move closer, and that is what we started iterating. May of 2015, I moved out of Broadcom, started GridRaster around that time, and from there 2 years we have been building, and that is where we are today.
So in the case of AR VR, we're here in Las Vegas, Consumer Electronics Show. There's a lot of VR AR talk that's out there.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of been the hot thing for the last couple of years.
Right.
Mobile World Congress has always had a big. Last year was big on the AR VR. Why? Some people are reporting that they believe that we're in the hype cycle. It's getting hyped a lot more than what it could ever really deliver. Do you agree, or what?
I think so. Every new medium goes through that. Like phones went through that, and once you start seeing the real use cases, that is where that the hype is now going to go away, and real use cases will start building up. Right. So when we started in 2 years back, we also saw that gaming is going to be the real use case. But what we see today is that industrial application, like enterprises, are the one who are really building these applications where the use case is real. Now there can be multiple reasons, like a consumer is not going to wear a very heavy headset, so that is forgiven.
Right.
It doesn't mean that AR VR is in the hype. It will iterate. Now there are industry leaders who are trying to bring those form factor to a much smaller form factor.
Right.
So for consumer to really pick it up, that has to happen, that it has to become a glass like what you're wearing today.
Right.
Before that, consumer is not going to start using it all the time. But early adopters have already started coming, like 10 million people in such a new medium buying in 1 year. It's still a huge success for consumer. Enterprises, what we are seeing already, that two, especially like 3 use cases, we are seeing a very clear return on investment for enterprises. Like one is the use case where the industry is trying to use this for their maintenance work. Like whenever there is a huge maintenance and the number of experts are much less than what you have today, the machineries that are out there, they're using those to really fix these devices. Second, and these are the people who have like a billions of dollar maintenance budget, and they really see a strong value in this medium. So really the opportunity is there today. The second is that we are seeing is really in the retail. So everyone thinks that retail keeps on trying. People think that but AR and VR really changes the whole thing, because just in the product discovery, if you see some of the demo that were done recently by the people in like Nissan Leaf, Audi, right, you can now see that you can really see that you're not going to go back from this dealership just because you don't have the car which is not the same color that you want.
Right.
Like I have gone to a car dealership and I say that, hey, I want this color car, and if it's not there, okay, I will come next week, but I never go back. I'm like, okay, I'm done. A lot of these shoppings are really impulsive. Now with these ones, they have already proven that once you are there, you are going to buy these cars, right? And this is just starting. So in another couple of years, it is, for now they're using it for product discovery,
right?
But now you can build loyalty and everything will start.
Well, it's also product validation. Is
right.
it really what I want?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
That is where, and the third is really the training, right? So when we started, we also looked at the education, but education has the same problem, that devices have to become smaller before schools will adopt it. But in the industrial setting, the training is very, very useful. So now people are training on very, very expensive equipment, remote teams. Like the remote teams, they don't have to really ship all the equipment to the 1,000 miles away to the remote team. So these are the places where the opportunity and the return on investment is very, very clear. And these are the beachhead, and consumer will come right behind it. And we strongly believe that it will be 2025 when everyone will be walking around with these glasses. But we have to start building the infrastructure today, because infrastructures don't build get built
Well,
overnight.
that's where people tend to miss out on, right? Is that if something is going to happen 3 years from now, then what do you need to do 2 years from now? What do
Right,
you need to do 1 year from now?
right,
Because otherwise, it doesn't exist.
right,
And particularly in the ISP world,
right,
if for instance, if this VR AR experience is going to require 500 gigabit kinds of network speeds,
right,
that's a 10-year
right.
it's a
There.
10-year
Yeah,
preparation
right.
before that becomes
Yeah,
available.
yeah.
So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after this quick commercial break, continuing on our conversation. We're going to get into a little bit more detail about the problems. Why is this so hard to solve? And we'll cover that as soon as we get back. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Killer Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network. Welcome back to Killer Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. We are here with Rishi Ranjan talking about this particular problem that you highlighted just now around AR, VR, and that whole experience and the belief that that becomes kind of the new media experience. You talked about in the last segment about, near compute, but it's just not about just throwing compute at the edge,
Right.
And all the other pieces that have got to come together, and you got to kind of build the infrastructure in order to even have this experience even be possible. How big of a problem is this? I mean, you think about it, okay, edge compute, broadband speeds, those kinds of things. You can kind of check them off. Is it that big of a problem?
Right. So what will happen? So what people miss is that edge compute. So edge compute is, you cannot think of edge compute as putting a dedicated server for every user. It's too expensive.
Right.
The reason cloud was successful is that the cloud, basically you can reuse all the resources, and that is the only reason cloud is successful. Otherwise, you cannot build a server per user. It's like buying a PC. And in AR VR case, you will need hundreds of PC because your world is humongous. You are interacting with 100 worlds every day. You are processing huge amount of camera data, right? So you cannot put 100 PC and put it at the edge for every user. So that is not a solution. When people talk about edge, everyone thinks that put these 100 servers. That is not a solution, because people don't understand that it will literally require 100 servers to give this experience, right? So you are trying to fool the human brain in saying that this is really the world that you are living in. You are trying to cross a divide where you want the human brain to think that this is real world. You are looking at a real world, even though it was generated by a computer. To do those things, the amount of compute that is really needed, it is huge. And also the second thing is you're trying to mimic human brain. Like your cameras are becoming the AR VR cameras are nothing but your eyes, right? Now, if you're trying, and human eye can detect so many things at the same time, and AR and VR has nothing. You have an eye, and then you're trying to create a brain, and human brain is very complex. The amount of compute is huge. Right now, if you look at the edge compute today, people say that on a base station at a CO, you can go and put servers. COs are really small offices. Like if you look at the Equinix data center, it is like 10 football field compared to a CO, which is like hardly a couple of rooms is there, is what your CO is going to be. Right now, so the way we have to start thinking about the edge compute is that edge compute is a necessity. AR, VR, like you need to bring that feel of a real world. And what the feel of a real world is that human brain is very fast. Like the moment human brain sees a thing and it knows this is what I am looking at and this is what I have to do.
Yep.
So edge compute is needed for sure, but then edge compute can't be that. You cannot put that much edge compute. So we have to start thinking that how will this new networks evolve, that only the thing that is really critical should go into the edge compute, so that you can create the network infrastructure that is economically feasible also. Think about, and so a couple of examples that you can think of is, we know that AR VR is very, very critical, but now it's not that everything is same. Like when we are looking at our world, not everything needs to be that sensitive. So I'm talking to you. If my brain doesn't react to what I am seeing when I am looking at you, I will be very uncomfortable. But there is a timer running on my right. Even if that timer is not comes right now, I am okay. Like my brain is not going to register those things. So these are just the start. But the question is that, okay, this is a simple part, but then how do you tie these things together? Because till now, compute was only built as a monolithic compute. Right. Now distributed compute people have talked, but no one has really made it work. And now we will have billions of nodes all over the world. How do you make sure that this compute can be broken down into all of these hierarchical networks with very, very different kind of bandwidth available, very different kind of compute, very different kind of cost and everything?
Well, yeah, because then you get down into making the decision on I've got a task to perform. Where's the best place? Where's the best place to perform
this?
And then, given the complexity of bandwidth, compute, memory, resources at that spot,
at all those spots, right? So lot of effort will go in that direction, and what is going to happen is that AR and VR will change everything, right? So today we see search as a text or video search, right? But now you have to, when we look at the human, when you look through the camera, you have to now start searching through a 3D world, right? 3D world you can't even see a 3D world. Right now, how do you do these 3D world will be a terabyte for your home. If you capture your home, it will be a terabyte world. You can't really put that on your phone. You can't really put every user terabyte thing on the edge compute, right? So everything is infrastructure. The way people have developed, it is going to start changing, and this is the right time that early adopters are adopting it. Enterprises are adopting it. So this is also a good place to start building this thing.
Okay, when you say adopting, what does that mean? What are they doing today?
So for example, in enterprise use cases, they are really deploying, like it is saving them a ton of money. Both enterprise, as I said, industrial maintenance, it's already saving them a lot of money. Right now, for their point of view, edge compute is even on-premise data center, right? So, but the challenges for edge data center is going to be the similar, but they are also looking. No one wants to really keep putting on-prem data center, so there is an opportunity there to start building this network, because there is a huge amount of even revenue opportunity coming from these sources.
Right.
So, and idea is that this is a new medium. Unless we start building it today, we will learn a lot by building it also. Theory is one thing we can come, but only when we deploy and build, we will really know that what is really going to work, and that is where currently we are working with a lot of partners to figure it out.
So you're saying though right now, though, that kind of that proof point that's funding the learning cycle is really this enterprise. The use of VR, AR for maintenance, repair, training. We've seen it used in training, those kinds of things.
Right.
And why do they need near compute? Is their experience that latency dependent in that whole thing, or?
So you can think of that compute is needed. For example, so if you take a look at even a simple example, that there is a plane out there which needs to be repaired. It's like 10,000 miles away. The plane is broken, sitting in a hangar, and you have the expert sitting 10,000 miles away somewhere in Atlanta, right? So now with AR and VR, when you're trying to really repair this plane, this plane will need 1,000 servers, because this has a very, very fine detail you are rendering. It's a huge plane. And now latency is still, because if you don't put the latency, reduce the latency, people start getting sick in that environment.
Well, sick or frustrated or loss of productivity, whatever it might be. So good. When we come back, we're going to take another quick commercial break here. When we come back, we're going to pick up the conversation, talk specifically more about the solution you are developing with your company. We're going to understand that and how that solves this challenge of weaving all these things together to make it work. So when we come back, we're going to pick up the conversation on more specifically about the product and the solution for the AR VR space. So don't go anywhere. We're here in Las Vegas, giving you the insights on what's happening on the front lines of innovation. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. You're listening to Killer Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network. Welcome back to Killer Innovations. We are continuing our conversation here with Rishi Ranjan, and your company is GridRaster. So we've been talking a lot about the AR, VR space, the complexity of edge compute, latency, and why this needs to happen, and specifically around what you think is the first use case, which would be enterprise solutions for this. So talk a little about GridRaster, the company, the product, what you're doing. How long has the company been around?
So we have been around. We started in May of 2015.
Okay.
And so May of 2015 we started, and so we started building the product right at that time. Now we think that we came early by 1 year because so at that time we took a bet that when Oculus got acquired by Facebook, that this is the time everyone is realizing that this is going the AR VR will become reality soon. Now, but our bet was always that mobile is the way it is going to go to the masses, and so we started going to people that okay, the tethered PC is okay, but what AR VR will need is not one PC is not going to solve that problem, and so you need really a cloud based solution, and the mobile is just use the mobile as a very low level entry point. You can't put a $3,000 entry point for any new medium. uh, so so we were pitching it to all our partners which had the mobile devices, and initial 1 year we were facing the problem that the partners themselves were trying to pitch their mobile devices. So but so we were 1 year early, but then what we did well is that we when our partners they were trying to sell these devices, they started hearing from every enterprise customers where they were trying to sell that the experience won't be possible on the mobile, and so we had already told them that this is the problem you are going to face, and then within 1 year we had a very strong partner called ODG. So they are called Osterhout Design Group. They have been there for quite some time, very focused on the enterprise device market. So they became our first strong partner. They were not, their devices was built based on the Qualcomm latest and the greatest SoC. So once we started pitching, once we started with them, like pretty much the whole thing we started with ODG, and everywhere they were going, they were hearing the same thing, that whenever the experience is going to be missing on the devices, the glasses were the best glasses whatever available in the market, but the experience was missing. So at that time we got started pretty much at that time we started getting all the interest. That before that we were really worried that okay, this is we are coming in too early in this market. So and daily we were asking the question that okay, is it too early, like Bay Area is not a cheap place to stay even. So all the initial founders, we were lucky that spouses were working, but still Bay Area with that, it's not an easy place to stay if one person is out of the job. And basically when I say out of the job, we are not taking any money for almost 1.5 years. So in the 2016 December 2016 we raised our seed round. So we closed a $2 million round with that. So our investor was like the co-founder of Nextel Corporations, which was acquired by Sprint later. So Christopher Rogers was our he knew that this is what is going to happen in this field. So they normally invest in the Series A. They write a much bigger check, but they knew that this is what the whole new medium is going to go through. So he saw the potential, and then we raised our 2 million round there. And after that, basically we just kept focusing on the enterprise business together with our partners. So now wherever we are going, we are completely seeing that enterprise, everyone is facing the problem that everyone needs mobility. No one wants to be tethered on the PC, really. And with the mobile devices, we become a critical part that it has to be tethered. It cannot be tethered.
Well, in effect, you're creating almost a virtual tethering to the local compute, because there's not enough compute in the headsets to create the entire experience.
And also the insight that we were bringing back working for Qualcomm, Broadcom, everyone, is that we were in the networking business, and we were realizing that because Moore's law, everyone says it will double the compute every 2 years, but now we were really struggling because on the mobile phones you cannot put a fan or a liquid coolant like a PC. So if you cannot cool them down, Moore's law doesn't work. So now we have almost hit all those limits on the mobile devices, and we hear all of those around that the phone start getting heat up, and once it heats up, you have to pretty much shut down everything. So compute cannot keep doubling, right? So it's not, and so from here this gap is always going to increase, and that's where now we are very focused to focus today that solve this problem for these three use cases: the training, industrial maintenance, and the retail. And these are the places where we see that it will be the beachhead. It will we can really build this whole new network using these three use cases, and these are really huge opportunities, like because these are the ones who can really really see the lot of savings and productivity gain from these use cases. Now on the product front, so as I said that we raised our seed round, and we are building these products with all these partners currently. And the aim is that for us with the seed round, we want to prove that this product end to end works with our current customer.
Right.
And we have chosen all those partners very clearly, that how these partners, how they will help us to make sure that this whole is now on the product front. We are building it as I said, at high level, what we are building is that can you break down any application. So the content will be built by application developers, so you cannot put a lot of burden on the application developers to go, like traditionally in research and research community, people can create multiple tasks, but in our case we get one task, we get one application, one monolithic application, and we have to start breaking it apart onto all these nodes, and we are talking about that hundreds and thousands of nodes out there. So at the high level, that is what we are looking, but it brings in a lot of these knowledge also, that we have to start thinking from today that in this new medium, as we are breaking around this task, we are breaking apart the rendering task, we are breaking apart the compression task, we are breaking apart the camera processing. What will be the new medium mean for search, right? Everything is going to change. Like in this new medium, slowly you will start everything that you can see into the video and the current world, all of those is going to change in this new medium. So how do you start breaking it apart without putting that burden on the application developer? That is a lot of effort that we are putting today.
So it is interesting when you think about, what I guess you would call it the second order effect, right? What's the consequence of this new medium on today? We do things we just naturally use every day, right? Like search is a good example, right? What does search look like in VR, AR?
So it is a good and a bad part also. So if you could think of it like people like Google, Apple, they will start building a 3D model of your home in which things will be searched, right? But so it is a very good thing to do. Like if we can get the 3D model, and now if you come back to your home and you are looking to, you are trying to see that I need to put a new music player at your home. Now you don't have to do anything because 3D model exists. So all the simulation can be run that which music system works best for your home. Everything or any product that you now want to use, it will run through all the simulation, because you have full knowledge of your home now.
Right.
Now the other part is that the complexity is that now how do you search through 3D models, because 3D models are not images, right? These are bits and pixels which till you really render them, they don't exist. They are some abstract concept, right? So now how do you search through these 3D models? That is a complexity. On the scary part is privacy. Like we have been worried about privacy just with AI and all these tools, but the AR and VR will really change that whole thing, that now someone will own a 3D model for your very, very private spaces that you don't want to, but this always happens. Every technology comes with
and we've heard about it for years, and even now you bring up AI, and AI being such a hot topic at the Consumer Electronics Show this year. There's been this kind of murmuring underneath about, should AI be something you fear, or is it AI something you should embrace? Right. And what is the concept of ethical AI? Or in this case, it should be the concept of what is ethical on any product work, in the solution and in solving those problems. So we're going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what advice would you give the listeners. You talked about, you thought you were 1 year early, and the struggles of Silicon Valley with families and spouses and all that. So if you had to do it over again, you could rewind. What would be the one piece of advice you would give? So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after this quick commercial break. And see you soon. So welcome back. We're going to pick up the conversation around advice for the listeners. You kind of laid a little bit of a teaser in the last segment with regards to, people always think about Silicon Valley and they hear about the high cost of living, but it's getting more and more expensive to do the startups, not just from the standpoint of what you have to pay people. But if you truly are starting up and you're not taking any money out, the financial burdens and success for the business can be put a lot of strain on relationships, that type of thing. So you kind of gave a little bit of a teaser, but I'm going to leave it open ended here.
Yeah.
Rish. So, what would be, you've gone through this experience. What would be your advice to the listener? If you could go back and kind of rewind to the beginning of this process, what piece of advice would you wish you had that you would give yourself as advice?
So I think the most important one, again, this might be more relevant for people who have family. So the most relevant one, I would say that bring your family on board. When you start a startup, you're always, the startup is your most important thing. So you think that is the only thing that you have to focus on, but the reality is that in the end, your family is your most important pillar. So it's not just financially, even like you, even from any point of view, if your family is with you, you can keep going for 3 year, 4 year if you want, even in a very very hard financial situation. And the biggest mistake, at least what I made, was that in my mind, I always wanted to keep my family updated on how are things happening, but you get so focused on the startup that you start losing that part many times. And I would say that finance is okay, like you somehow deal with it, but the stress that is there, that you are not able to keep up with the family, that is the part that I would say that if you can fix, I could fix that part, where I could have kept my wife, like my wife is very supportive, but then if I don't keep her in the loop all the time, then it becomes you are kind of just running separate from each other, that this is important for me. So I would say from family point of view, if I would do that one right, that is the first thing I'm going to fix from that point of view. And from the business point of view, I would say that timing is important. Now in startup, you can never really time anything.
If you figure that one out, you're a millionaire. You don't need to do the startup,
anything, right? But one thing is for sure, that I would say that you should adapt. Like it's like we wanted to solve AR/VR infrastructure problem, and we dragged our feet up a long time, even though we knew that consumer is not going to take off. But we were very passionate that no, this is what consumer. Let's just keep thinking. We had very clear inputs that enterprise is the one which will fund this whole infrastructure first, but we almost spent 6 to 9 months more than when we started getting all the input. So if we would have started early on, we could have been much better position that when we started getting those input. I know that it's easy to say now looking back, but that is one thing I would say, that when you're getting the input, be ready to change. Like in a startup, it's it's very hard to change the passion, that okay, consumer for us was a passion, that okay, we will make this happen, but we kind of losing the time is something that we cannot afford in a startup. That is the most important thing that
exactly.
I would say.
Good advice. I mean, I kind of poked at the family one, right? I did 13 startups before I got my IPO. 13.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And I've been fortunate. God bless my wife. We've been married 38 years. She's lived through all of those with 3 kids and raising kids and everything.
Yeah.
And I think about it, in that advice, I wish I had heard back when I started. Because you're right. Because I'm in the Valley 2 times. Your startup becomes your life.
Yes.
Everything's about it. And you got to be a little bit careful, because sometimes you put it out there to say, well, this is how I provide for my family. So therefore, you can rationalize the prioritization of why the startup's more important than time or whatever with family, that type of thing. And look, let's all be honest. We've all done it. We've all rationalized away why you're doing 80-hour weeks on a startup type of thing. Yeah. Been there, done that one. So if people want to track you and the company, what's the best place they can find you?
I'm not very good with my social presence, but the company GridRaster.com, people can just
so it's just GridRaster.com.
GridRaster.com.
Okay.
And we will start becoming more and more active on social media. Being an enterprise-focused company, we really don't get that much benefit from the social media right now. but we know that we are in AR VR. We have to educate a lot of people also in this medium, and we have to do our job. So that part we will become active, and we will have all of our social links.
So what I'll do, we'll put it in the show notes, link for GridRaster, so people can find the company and do more information.
Sure.
And we'll assume that at some point your social media links will be up there.
Absolutely,
So if people
sure.
want to follow you on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever, whatever's appropriate. So first off, great job on Monday at the event at the Four Seasons. Congratulations on that. People walked away very impressed, and congratulations on the company. You are, I think of it as almost you're solving the plumbing problem, and nobody appreciates the plumbing problem.
Yes.
So you don't get the glory and honor of the high level stuff, but you're laying the foundation that others are going to build upon. So congratulations on that.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it.
So we're going to wrap up the show here. Thanks very much for joining us. We have a whole series of shows coming over the next couple of weeks based on our interviews here at the Consumer Electronics Show 2018 Las Vegas, looking at the leading innovations that are coming to the market. Give us your feedback. Let us know your thoughts on these series of shows, both here and anything else. If you've got a guest, a topic, a question that you would like to have answered here on the show, just drop me a note, phil@killerinnovations.com. We will have all of the show notes up and available online over at killerinnovations.com. With regards to all of the shows, that's the place where you can find the history. You can search and find the entire archive going back now to 2005 of all of our shows. If you're interested in following us when we're on the road, hop on over to the Facebook page for the Innovators Studio. So just look for the Innovator Studio. You'll see a picture image of the mobile studio, and we keep up to date, letting you know what cities we're going up to and where we're going to go next. And if you think you've got an entrepreneur that has a great story that should be part of our rural innovation story series, love to hear about that also. With that, thank you very much for listening. Don't let your critics get you down. Take that idea, turn it into a product, and change the world. Talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.